This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Can you see my screen? See, you are going to learn data science and big data analytics. So this is our course title, right? Either data science or big data analytics, these two will contribute to prepare any artificial intelligent object. So finally, data science or big data analytics is a part of artificial intelligence, right? So in data science and big data analytics, there are mainly 4 to 5 tools where we need to focus to become expert in data science and big data analytics. The first tool, very important tool, every data scientist, every data engineer, or every data architect should learn is Hadoop. Hadoop contains many components, but within this, you will have to focus on only HDFS and Hive mainly. So these two are very important. These two are related to database. So where you can store your data. So that is what we are going to learn in Hadoop. Then we'll be learning Python language. But Python language can be used for different purposes like gaming applications, mobile applications, web-based applications, enterprise applications. Similarly, analytics applications. So based on the requirement, Python packages and libraries concepts will keep changing. So we will be learning Python for analytics or Python for data science, right? So Python for analytics, right? Similarly, Scala language, Scala for analytics. See here, Scala, Python, both are same. Both are object plus functional oriented languages. Both are very easy language. Anybody can learn. So nowadays, Python, Scala, both are equally growing. So even 10th class, 9th class people also started learning Python. But that Python is very basic level Python, but we will be learning very advanced Python for analytics and for data science. Okay. All right. So after this, another very important framework, Spark. So we'll be learning a Spark framework. It is a computation engine in which we have a core Spark SQL, Spark streaming, Spark mlib machine learning libraries. Okay, so these are the sub modules in Spark framework. But here Spark framework cannot learn alone. Spark requires one language. That language can be either Python or Scala, right? So if you are using Python within a Spark, that is called PySpark. If you're using a Python within a Spark, that is called PySpark. Okay, then these are the main modules which we need to learn to become an expert in data science and big data analytics world. Apart from this, the additional things are cloud of basics, not in-depth knowledge. Cloud of basics like AWS or GCP or Azure, only basics of cloud. That's all, not more than that. Okay, so this is our module list. So where we are going to focus. So doesn't matter any job. For example, you are applying for data engineer, you require these modules, or data scientist, you require these modules, or big data architect, you require these modules. So these modules are mandatory. So everybody has to work on these modules. So maybe you are a project manager or delivery manager or your project lead or your team member, you need to work on these modules. So far, any doubts? Anybody has any doubts? Okay. If no doubts, we will continue. Okay, and I'll show you the curriculum also. Very, very important thing. Look at this one. This is the very, very important curriculum and unique curriculum you don't find anywhere else. So here we'll be having a cloud platforms. We'll be discussing these cloud platforms and different file formats which are being used, and Delta Lake or Lake House. Nowadays, this is a very, very, very important one. We'll be discussing more on this one. Then building a CI/CD pipelines and orchestration of jobs. This is also a very, very important one, right? So most of the interviews this is being asked. Then, as I told you, Hadoop and Spark Scala. Razu, attend అవుతున్నా? ఏం ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది? నువ్వు మొబైల్ నుంచి కనెక్ట్ అవ్వు. ఇంకోటి మీటింగ్ ఐడి ఇచ్చేసేసి లేదు గో టు మీటింగ్ యాప్ డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకుంటే అందులో జాయిన్ మీటింగ్ ఐడి అని వస్తుంది. ఆ ఐడి ఎంటర్ చేసి మీరు ల్యాప్టాప్ లో అటెండ్ అవ్వలేదా? యా ట్రై క్లిక్ చేస్తే వచ్చేస్తుంది. రైట్, సో Hive, then Scala. These are all the different topics in Scala. These are very, very easy, don't worry about them. Spark and Scala combinations. Then Python. We'll be discussing a very, very extensive Python here. Then Spark with Python, PySpark. Okay. Then the projects, case studies. We'll be doing case studies on those things. So these are the technologies what we are going to. So this is the curriculum in brief. So this curriculum is more than enough to get job in any multinational company or any small company or mid-sized company. You'll be able to crack any interview once you complete my classes. Okay, that is for sure. So far, any questions, doubts? No, right? Okay. Now, what we do first, we will start with Hadoop, as it is a very, very basic one. Everybody should have this Hadoop skills, right? Okay. So, what is a Hadoop over here? So, Hadoop is an analytical tool which is to analyze a big data. In my demo class, we understood what is a big data. It is a large volume, unstructured, semi-structured, multi-structured data which cannot be processed by a single machine or single computer. It requires a set of computers to store and do the computations. That we call it as a big data. So to analyze this big data or to store this big data, we require to have Hadoop. So behind this Hadoop, there is no technical meaning. This name is generated from TIE, this elephant TIE. So the Hadoop is invented by Doug Cutting. He is basically Java programmer. He has used Java language to build a Hadoop framework, but we don't need to learn any Java language, right? So logo also elephant, yellow color tie. His son was playing this toy, and his son named this elephant name as Hadoop. And Doug Cutting heard this name, thought that it is a unique and easy to spell. Then he named it as a Hadoop. So it is one kind of a framework. What is a framework? Framework, it contains software libraries. There will be many libraries, inbuilt libraries to do your activities. So what is the history of Hadoop? So there used to be a project called Nudge before Google search engine. There used to be Nudge search engine in 2002. people were started using it. Then slowly the Google has picked up, and they published a Google file system, a white paper, and Doug Cutting happened to go through that white paper and invented HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System, which is a part of Hadoop, right? So 2006 and 7, the most of the companies have started using, and Doug Cutting donated that Hadoop to Apache company. Apache is a software foundation company. They promote all open sources. So open sources means you can directly download from internet. You don't need to pay any cost to anybody, any price to anybody, right? So we can easily download and start configuring and start working on it. So as I told you, Hadoop is a framework which contains the software libraries, which allows distributed processing of large data sets across cluster of computers. What is a cluster of computers? Multiple computers. That means you will be storing data in multiple computers. You'll be doing computation in multiple computers using simple programming models. That means you don't need to write a complex programming. In Hadoop environment, it provides a distributed storage as well as computation capabilities. That means where data can be distributed, data can be computed, right? So Hadoop can work with a single machine, or can also work with thousands of machines. That means you can start with a single machine, can be configured to thousands of machines. Every machine will work individually. That we call as a local computation and local storage. So to summarize, Hadoop is a framework which contains software libraries which are used to distribute data, distribute computations, and do parallel processing by using simple programming model. So Hadoop can work with a single machine to thousands of machines. Hadoop can work with single machine to thousands of machines, right? So now we are clear about Hadoop, right? Any questions here? Any questions? Right? So definitions are very, very important. See, the interviews are very, very easy in big data environment, big data analytics environments. The only thing is practice is required. So they don't ask high complex questions, because these are all new technologies to everybody, which were not existing before. Remember that. So everybody has to learn these technologies. So why Hadoop has become so popular? There are mainly three reasons. One is very simple to work and robust, highly scalable. I told you it can work with a single machine, can work with thousands of machines. Highly accessible means open source. It is available on internet. Anybody can download and configure and start working on it, start building your product. Okay, so that is the reason Hadoop is so popular. So Hadoop means, as I told you, it is a framework which contains a number of modules. There are tens of modules, but we don't need to go through all those modules. Okay, we'll be discussing very, very important modules for analytics or for data science. Okay, so these modules are categorized into like this: for data management, some set of tools; for data accessing, some set of tools; for data processing, some set of tools; some data storage, some set of tools, right? But we require here data storage. For processing, accessing, management, we have a different tools. We don't use Hadoop for that. For data storage, we'll be using HDFS, Hive, then HBase. Here Hive is for two purposes. One is for storage, another for accessing. This Hive is similar to database like DBMS or MySQL or DB2 or Oracle, similar to that. HDFS is a file system. It is similar to any kind of other file system, right? So in Hadoop, we'll be mainly focusing on Hive, HDFS, and MapReduce. Okay, so you don't need to worry about other things. Then when we say Hadoop, what are the main components of Hadoop? So there are mainly two components. One is storage component, where you store data. Another one is computation component. So these two are part of computation component. The MapReduce computation component, then advanced computation component is ANN, advanced than MapReduce. These both are used for computations only. So that means in HDFS you store all your employee data like employee number, employee name, designation, salary, department information, customer information, order information. But how will you calculate salary? How will you calculate order details, order price? How will you calculate discounts? So those kind of things will be performed by this programming component, MapReduce and a component, right? So Hadoop has got two components. One is a storage component, another one is computation component, right? So here I have used term called distributed. What does it mean, a distributed? So for example, we are using our laptop here. This is a single laptop. Whenever you want to do something, let's say I want to enter some 10 columns and 20 rows. You open Excel sheet and you define a columns and enter rows and start doing arithmetic operations against Excel. But inside that Excel, there is a programming. You all know that, right? So basically, there will be internally C programming. That C programming will work only on single machine. But when you come to distributed environment, distributed world, there is no single mission. There will be a multiple missions, more than one mission. So every mission will participate in computation, will share computations. For example, you are doing a plus b whole square formula. You want to calculate a plus b whole square. So that will be calculated by multiple missions. Those missions are connected through network. So we call them as networked computers. Network of interconnected computers. That means whenever you store any file, that file will be distributed to all the machines. Whenever you submit any program, that program will be distributed to all the machines and run parallelly, generate the results parallelly. So that is the reason it is called as a distributed environment. Distributed means where data will be distributed, computations are also distributed. So from now onwards, I don't say computer, I say it as a node. Remember, node and computer both are same. The node, computer both are same. The mainly node purpose is to store data, do computations. Node is to store data, do computations. Any doubts so far? So Naga, any doubts?
It's clear, sir.
గుర్తున్నాయా మర్చిపోయారా?
అవన్నీ గుర్తున్నాయండి.
Okay. So Razu, any doubts? Syed, any doubts?
No, sir, no.
Monica. Okay. Fine. See, one more term I'm going to introduce here, cluster. So somewhere you must have heard about cluster. What is this cluster? Cluster is nothing but again a network of computers, multiple computers put together, we call it as a cluster, but it has got special functions. So what are those functions? Here you see some set of machines here in this box, right? These are all computers only, or it can be laptop, it can be virtual machine. But these are normal computers where you have hard disk and RAM, right? The computation engine. So these machines are called slave machines or data nodes. What is the use of them? Whenever user stores data, that data will be distributed in all the machines. Whenever user submit any application or any code to compute, that code will be distributed to all the machines, will be partitioned. Data will be partitioned, computations are also will be partitioned, and run computation everywhere in all the machines parallelly and generate results. Every machine will generate some result, right? and that result will be combined and show to user. So that algorithm is already written in Hadoop. Hadoop will take care of it. Your job is to just store and do computation, that's all. You should not be worrying about how many number of computers are there in cluster, what are they doing, how do they do, all that stuff is not required for you, right? So that is taken care by your Hadoop itself. The algorithm is already written. So as these machines are doing actual work, these are called slave machines or slaves. Slave machines are slaves. The actual storage, actual computation is performed here in slave machines or data nodes. But here, all these data nodes or slave machines are managed by something called master node. This is also one of the computers. Or name node. Master node, name node, both are same, right? So the main purpose of master node, name node is to manage all the slave machines, all the data nodes, right? So this master node contains metadata. That means metadata means data about data. Metadata means data about data. So here this master node does not contain any actual data. But what it contains, just give me 2 minutes. Yeah. So the slave machines will contain actual data. Actual means actual your functional data like employee data, department data, customer data. That data will be stored here. But what you store in these machines will be recorded here. For example, you have some 1,000 songs of different music directors. Okay, you want to listen to them, but you want to categorize them. How will you categorize? You create some folders and you say X name, say Y name, Z name. Under that you store all the recordings, right? All the songs. Similarly, here your name node also will maintain the data about how many number of slave machines are there, what each slave machine is doing, reading or writing, then what is the data size in each machine, and what kind of permissions are there against directories and against files like read permissions, write permissions, delete permissions. And that kind of information is stored in master node. That data we call it as a name node, sorry, metadata. That we call it as metadata. So metadata is nothing but data about data. So you also see secondary master here. See, these are all normal computers only. Don't think that these are different machines. Normal, it can be your laptop also, as I told you. Secondary master. This will be the backup for primary master. How this backup mechanism will work, we will discuss later. Don't worry now. This will also contain a metadata. But these two will never do your computations. Who will do your computations? Slave machines. The actual results being generated here. So finally, we understood Hadoop cluster contains master node, secondary master node, slave node. All these things put together is called it as cluster. Now, let's say you got a project in Hadoop or analytics. You are asked to build a cluster. Then you will have to order some machines. You need to decide size of your cluster based on size of your data, right? For example, I want to have a 10 node cluster. As I told you, node is nothing but a computer. Okay, 10 node cluster means 10 computers cluster. You'll go and buy 10 computers and try to configure one master node, one secondary master, remaining 8 will be slaves. So those things will be in a network. That entire setup we call it as a cluster. We will be building this cluster with the help of Hadoop. We'll be discussing practically. Don't worry now. So finally, we have understood how to build a cluster. Fine. So what we have done here, we bought computers. We have seen some physical location in particular room where we have built this all these machines and prepared a cluster, right? So now you say, I don't want to buy a computer. I don't want to put all these computers and maintain in a particular place. Like we need to maintain a AC and dust-free environment. Okay, then we need to have a lot of cabling systems. There are a lot of other management activities need to be done to maintain this cluster. I don't want this kind of headache. Then fine, what is the solution? The solution is a cloud, like AWS people, Amazon Web Service people, or Google Cloud people, or Azure Cloud people, or even IBM Bluemix Cloud people, or Databricks Cloud people. So those people are providing inbuilt cluster. That means they already have a slave machines, master node, secondary master. You just need to create a cluster. That's all. Very simple. So automatically it will go and create the entire cluster setup. That is called a cloud. So you don't need to maintain all these machines in a particular physical place and own it. You don't need to take the headache of maintaining all these physical machines. So today you require 10 machines of cluster. You go and purchase 10 machines of cluster in a cloud, AWS, Google Cloud. Tomorrow you require another 10 machines. Very simple, just a small email, or you can directly add 10 more machines in cloud. We'll be discussing that also in cloud, don't worry now. So with no time, you can keep on adding machines. Or your business is down, the data volume is less, you want to reduce the number of machines. Fine. So you can remove some machines. Right. So that much easy to add machines, remove machines from the cluster or to the cluster. But if you are owning this entire cluster setup in a physical place, in your place, imagine to add another 10 more machines, how much work will be added to you. Or imagine if I want to remove 5 machines from here, how much more it will be. So you need to own that completely. That is your headache. But when you go for a cloud environment, that's very easy to maintain. That is the reason the most of the companies are going for cloud environment to build applications. Did you understand now a little bit what is a cloud?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes,
What happens if one of the slave nodes like fails or gets damaged?
very good question. So we are going to discuss that. That is called Hadoop. Okay. So we will be discussing that.
Okay.
Don't worry. Yeah, that's the algorithm we are discussing. That's the main thing. Other than this, whatever we discussed so far, any doubts? So now you understood a cloud, right? Cloud is completely, we can say, the virtual world. Like you have a Gmail, right? Facebook or Twitter, these accounts you are able to access anywhere. Your data get carried to all the places, right? So that is called, that's the best example for cloud. Similarly, your applications, your data stored in cloud, AWS cloud, Google cloud, Azure cloud, Databricks cloud, and you can connect with internet. That's all. Very simple. If you have internet, you can start working with your cloud environment, right? So now we have a fair idea about what is a cluster, which is a very, very important one. But remember, you can have any number of slave machines connected, but only one master node. You can have multiple secondary masters also. For one cluster, one master. So your user, application user, will connect to cluster through master node. Okay. So whatever the activity you want to perform, instead of performing with a single computer, your cluster perform with multiple computers. That is simple. That is the reason your work will get faster. So Hadoop is 100 times faster than any other normal technology. That is the reason most of the companies moving towards Hadoop. Hadoop is mainly used for storage. That is what we discussed, remember, right? So what are the different types of clusters? So we understood what is the basic architecture of a cluster, and what are the different types of clusters. Pseudo distributed mode, what does it mean? Pseudo distributed means, for example, you have only one machine. We don't have multiple machines. I want to practice in a cluster mode, cluster environment. Then internally the multiple machines will be, or multiple threads will be created. So that is called pseudo distributed mode. Okay, without having multiple physical machines in cluster, we can achieve this cluster virtually by using multiple threads where you install Hadoop. Once you install Hadoop, which will take care of pseudo distributed mode. Then the cluster mode. Cluster mode is this one. Physically, you mount all the machines and connect all the machines and start working. Standalone mode, that means single machine. That's all. There won't be any distributed environment. For practice, either you can go for pseudo distributed mode or standalone mode. Both are same, right? Now, when we say configure cluster, for example, your manager says or your company says, boss, configure cluster. What are you going to do? Configuring name node, configuring data node, configuring secondary name node, configuring resource manager, configuring node manager is nothing but configuring cluster. Remember that. Name node, data node, secondary name node, resource manager, node manager. Once you configure all these components, that setup is called cluster setup. Your real-time cluster look like this. This is one of the data centers. Yahoo data centers I've taken from internet, where you see racks, rack 1, rack 2, rack 3. Within racks you see small rectangular boxes, right? These are called nodes, computers, computation machines. The entire box we call as a cluster. You can see hundreds, thousands of clusters for different requirements. Okay, they are very big clusters. They're like 2,000 nodes, 5,000 nodes, 10,000 nodes and data centers. In Hyderabad there are many data centers, many clusters. In Bangalore there are many clusters. In Chennai there are many clusters. In Pune there are many clusters. Across the globe, almost all top companies are having clusters established in different countries. Right. Slowly we are getting into technology. So we understood that Hadoop contains mainly two components. One is a storage component, another one is a processing component. But when you talk about storage component, we should talk about HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System. When you talk about processing component, we should talk about MapReduce component. Right. So this is the storage layer. The down layer, what you see here, storage layer. Upper layer, what you see is a computation layer. So when we say Hadoop, remember storage layer, computation layer. Within the storage layer, we'll be having nodes like a data node, name node, secondary name node. Within a MapReduce layer, computation layer, we have a job tracker, task trackers. Here you see multiple task trackers, multiple data nodes, but one name node, one job tracker, and one secondary name node. Right? This entire setup put together is called Hadoop cluster. That is what we understood. First, we will be starting with HDFS. What is Hadoop Distributed File System? So as I'm telling you, it's a very easy technology. Anybody can learn from from anywhere. You don't need to have any prerequisites. You don't need to learn any Java or any other languages. From wherever you are, with that knowledge you can learn. The only thing is daily effort is mandatory. Daily, at least 1.5 hours to 2 hours you should be able to spend on reading and practicing. So once you do this for 3 months, definitely you will be able to get a very good opportunity. As you know, there are plenty of job opportunities. Almost every company is into big data analytics world or data science world. So the growth rate of data science world is 75%. So by 2025, 85% of the applications are moving to cloud. with these technologies, remember. So you don't see any application running on physical servers. You see everything running on cloud. So that is also very, very, very important, right? So be it a small company, mid-sized company, big company, every company is having opportunities. So we are all lucky that it is just a starting. We have long way to go. It's still not at saturated. So only 10% of job opportunities are getting filled. Still 90% yet to fulfill, right? There is a lot of skill gap. So another important thing is that 80% of the company CEOs says by 2025, 80% of the industry people need to reskill. That means the existing technologies, whatever we have been working, whatever we have been doing, so maybe migrated to these new advanced technologies, they will have to reskill. It may not be, maybe today or tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Definitely one day you have to reskill yourself. So this is the right time. So let us start with the storage layer. Storage layer means Hadoop distributed file system, which is a part of Hadoop component. Right. So HDFS stands for Hadoop Distributed File System. So it is a file system. In Windows also we have file system, right? In Ubuntu also we have file system. In your computer we have file system. It is similar to that file system, but it has got some unique special features internally. But one thing we should remember, the entire Hadoop framework behind, there is a Java program. Doug Cutting is already written Java code. Okay, we don't need to learn that. That's system programming. HDFS stands for Hadoop Distributed File System. It is used to store and manage huge amount of data in cluster of machines. It is used to store and manage huge amount of data in cluster of machines. Remember this one, always we'll be running our applications, store data, cluster of machines, multiple machines, networked machines. Just now we have seen that diagram, right? So this is where we'll be storing huge amount of data. Why you are able to store huge amount of data? Because of multiple machines. You will store there and manage it, and it is highly scalable and provide fast access. How does it provide faster access? Because multiple computers will do computations parallelly. Multiple computers will do computations parallelly. That is the reason it provides faster access. Highly scalable. Why do we say highly scalable? Here you see cluster, right? This cluster, you can start with 2 machines. Then later on, you can keep on adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, n number of machines. Similarly, you can also remove those machines if you don't require. So that is the flexibility, that is the scalability we have in cluster environment, in a Hadoop distributed file system environment. In highly fault tolerant, like Syed asked one doubt here. So one of the data node fails, so what happens here? Or 10 data nodes is down, what happens here, right? So in a HDFS environment, Hadoop distributed file system environment, whenever there is any failure, it can recover automatically. We'll be discussing more on that. It can repair automatically and run your applications, generate the results. It does not stop running your application. So it has got that mechanism that is called fault tolerance. So it can detect faults automatically. It can automatically recover from the data loss or whatever it may be. Right? We'll be discussing on this. Don't worry. So these are all the advantages of HDFS. Another thing is processing logic close to the data rather than data close to the processing logic. What does it mean? Let me tell you that. Here in normal technologies like Java, .NET, mainframe, SAP, whatever it may be, SQL, whatever it may be, you write code, right? And there will be data. When you submit code, what happens internally? It will move data to the code and run against the data and do the computations, get back the result to the database. That is what is going to be happening. That is what is happening right now. But whenever you come to big data environment, moving this big data to another place or to the code and getting back the results is a tedious task, because you are dealing with a huge amount of data, like a zettabyte of data, petabyte of data. Zettabyte means 1 zettabyte means 1 CD to every person across the globe. That means if you distribute 1 CD to every person across the globe, that is equal to 1 zettabyte. Already more than 200 zettabyte of data is generated. Imagine how much amount of data is there. That is the reason every company is behind this, because this is where the opportunity is. So you'll have to work with the zettabytes of data in an analytics environment. That is the reason moving a huge data to the code and getting back the results is very difficult. Here in analytics world, data science world, you will be writing very simple code. Instead of moving data, we move code to data and do the computations here, generate the results and get back the code, not the data. Here a data movement will not happen, only code movement will happen back and forth when you submit code. That is the reason if somebody asks you what is the internal algorithm of Hadoop, say in one line, that means moving computations to code. That's it. But in traditional languages and databases, moving data to code. But here in analytics world, we move code to data, or we move computations to data. So that is the algorithm implemented in Hadoop. So because of this logic, Hadoop has become more famous. Clear now? So that is the reason here processing logic close to the data rather than data close to the processing logic. That means rather than moving data to logic, we'll move logic to data. And HDFS is highly efficient because it can run programs parallelly. The HDFS is enabled to run your applications parallelly. Then highly reliable. How is it reliable? We'll be discussing. Don't worry now. So these are some of the advantages of HDFS and features of HDFS. It support for only large files. So if you have very low volume of data and very less number of arithmetic operations, don't go for HDFS. Whenever you have a huge amount of data, whenever you want to do massive arithmetic operations, then go for HDFS. So HDFS can work with the commodity hardware and software. That means any cheaply available hardware and software can go with HDFS. You don't need to go for highly configured computer. Any machine which is available, assembled machine or any low configuration machine also can work with HDFS. Another advantage is streaming data access. That means write once, read many times. So where do you see this kind of requirement, write once, read many times? That means here in news article, you write news once and read number of times. Write news once, read number of times. Take a picture once and view that number of times. Take a video once, then play that video number of times. These are called write once, read many times. So wherever you find the write once, read many times activity, you go for HDFS. HDFS does not allow any updations. Once you write, you cannot override it. Remember that. Either you have to delete it or add it to write a new data. So these are some of the unique features of HDFS. Any doubts so far? No doubts, sir. You can message me. Are you all clear? If you are clear, message me. So far we have learned what is Hadoop, what is cluster, what are the cluster Hadoop components. Yes, okay, thank you, Syed. And what are the cluster components and what is HDFS, what are the advantages and features of HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System. Okay. Right. So here I told you, whenever you configure a cluster, we require to have these components. These are called daemons, D-A-E-M-O-N. This is a new term. Daemon is nothing but engine, one computer or one computation component or one storage component. That we call it as a daemon. So now whatever you see here, these are all daemons. Name node is one daemon. Secondary name node is one daemon. Date node is one daemon. Job tracker or resource manager one daemon. Task tracker or node manager is one daemon. So whenever you configure these daemons in your machine, that means you have installed configured Hadoop successfully. That's where you can do your distributed storage and distributed computation. That's where you store your data in a distributed environment. That's where you do the parallel computation. So these are called daemons. 1, 2, 3, 5 daemons. So we'll be discussing each one of them individually, the function of each daemon. That is very, very important. So more frequently asked questions in interviews. What are the daemons? Explain about those daemons functionalities one by one. What is the name node? I told you name node is one of the computers only in a cluster. Once again, I'll show you that diagram. This one, we are talking about this one, name node. That is master node, one computer. What it does, what is the function of this, and what it contains internally, right? What is the main function of name node? Function of name node is directing all the data nodes, slave nodes, to execute low-level IO operation. What is kind of low-level operation? It is read and write operations. IO means input-output operations. Input means read, output means write. Input-output operations. That means name node will tell to all the data nodes that what need to be executed, either read or write or both. That means delegation. Here, this master node will delegate read-write operations to all these slave machines. That is the one of the major function of master node or name node. Okay, and after that, another function is it also records the metadata of all the files stored in a cluster. I told you, right? The cluster is to store data. Example, location of the file, size of the file, or permissions, and a hierarchy. Let's say you create one main directory, within that another directory, within that another directory, multiple directories where you will be having files like this. See, look at this one. There is a file called desktop, a directory called desktop. Within that we have tech material directory, within that we have training, within that we have content, within that we have these files, right? Similarly, even in cluster also, you'll be having this kind of structure maintained internally. But I'll be having this entire architecture structure hierarchy in my mind, right? I have stored somewhere in my mind that my content is stored in training is stored in tech material is stored in desktop. But here, when you come to cluster environment, your name node will maintain information of all these slaves, like how many directories are there in each directory, how many subdirectories are there in each subdirectory, how many files are there, in each file, what is the volume of the data, and what are the permissions allowed, read permissions, write permissions, delete permissions. That kind of information is maintained in metadata that will keep getting updated as and when. That data, we are calling it as metadata. Metadata. I'll show you practically also what is metadata, how it looks like. Right? So we discussed two functions of name node. One function is it directs all the data nodes to execute input output operations. Then it records a metadata. Now you know what metadata contains, like location, size of the file, permissions, hierarchy, and all that stuff. Right? Another very, very important thing is here, you see name node, date node connected, right, in a network. But name node will keep sending signals to date node. Similarly, date node also will keep sending signals to name node. So that means there will be a communication established that, boss, you do this activity. And here, these guys will tell, yes, I have done this activity. So there will be a communication process established that we call as a heartbeat. That communication between name node and date node, called as heartbeat, that will keep happening for every 3 seconds. That will keep happening for every 3 seconds. So name node regularly receives heartbeat, that is communication. Some kind of a signal keeps sending. And block report, we will see what is this block report. Block means data here. Report from all the data nodes in a cluster, right? Why? To make sure that the data nodes are working properly, just like a project manager, that's all. So a block means data here. Data report contains a list of all blocks on a data node. That is where the actual data is stored. So name node will always make sure that all data nodes are functioning correctly or not, working properly or not. If any one of the data node is not working or down, then what will happen? We are going to discuss how name node is going to toggle that. Okay, that will be discussed in later sessions. Don't worry now. So there are mainly three major functions of name node. One function is it directs all the data nodes to execute low-level operations. It records the metadata of all the files stored in a cluster. The name node regularly will keep sending heartbeat to all the data nodes, right? So now we are clear about what is Hadoop, what are the components of Hadoop, what is a cluster, what cluster contains, what is the function of cluster, and what are the components of Hadoop, in which what is the storage component, and what are the features of HDFS, what is the features of HDFS, what are the advantages of HDFS, and what are the daemons available, in which what is the function of name node, that means what are the activities of name node. Okay, so any questions here? No questions. Leha, Madhu, Naga, Razu, Monica, Sayed. Monica, no questions, sir. See, let me tell you one important thing here. You should have a minimum self-motivation to learn this course. Where self-motivation comes from with a salary. If you are able to make your salary double, or you are getting a very, very good salary, self-motivation comes automatically. It is just that you need to put your effort. That's all. Somehow you should be able to take out your regular time, from your regular schedule, and start investing that time on the subject. So rest of it I'll take care. I'll give you complete guidance end to end, how to prepare and how to prepare your resume, how to prepare for interviews, how to attend interviews. So everything I'll take care. You don't worry about it. So you will be once you place your resume in Naukri, you will be getting hundreds of calls. Trust me, every day also you can get calls. There are many people migrating from X technologies to big data analytics world. Okay. All right then. So I think if there are no doubts, we'll stop it here. So what you should do, I've already recorded this session. So I'll download this recorded session after an hour or so and send you to your email IDs. I hope you all mentioned your email IDs at the time of login. So once you mention login IDs, I'll be getting those login IDs and send you the recording. Once again, you can play this recording and try to understand the concepts. Okay, I'll stop.